Welcome to Lead Poison.
Welcome to another episode of the Lead Poison podcast, brought to you by youcanpaint.com.au. Head to youcanpaint.com.au for issue 1 of their how-to series, How to Paint Your House and Save Thousands. My name is Jack, your host. Thank you for joining me. Today on the show we have an artist by the name of John Murray, hailing from Lightning Ridge, a small town in the northwest of New South Wales. If you haven't heard of John Murray, please head to his website www.johnmurrayart.com.au or on Instagram at Mort Murray, MORTMURRAY, and see some of the amazing work that John is producing. He's an incredible artist and an even better human being, an absolute gentleman, and an artist in every sense of the word. It was an honour to speak with him. We spoke about the philosophies behind some of his work, his journey to becoming the artist that he is today, and everything else in between. We kick off the conversation from his studio in the Sunshine Coast, where he's currently stuck due to COVID-19 and the travel restrictions. I hope you enjoy the show, so please, without further ado, please welcome John Murray.
Because our business is in New South Wales, it's just over the border. You know where Lightning Ridge is, do you?
Yeah, I do now.
Oh, right.
Up close to the, up near the border there.
It's out near Burke, yeah. So
Yeah.
what I do is I get all my stock and prints and things from Maroochydore here, and I normally take them back there, you know. But because I can't cross the borders or anything, I need to be able to get stock. A few years ago, we built a house here, you know, I'm in a shed now. And this is my studio. I'll just show you around. So I've just got some work going on there.
Beautiful.
So I work in here like this. I've got a little
there's
there. So
Bomb G, yeah.
oh, you seen that, did you?
Yeah, 100%. I love those those three little characters. They're awesome.
Yeah, this is the one I'm working on now. It's all to do with lockdown. It's all these dingoes. I don't know if you can see it. Can you?
Yeah, I can see it.
See, they're all see the fence. This is all the bloody borders that we've got through Australia. So it is the dingo fence, but the whole story is about bloody just people being in lockdown. You know, no freedoms.
Yeah, 100%.
So anyway,
it's been I mean, it's crazy. We've just been given permission to be outside. They've restricted our outside time to 60 minutes in my area.
oh yeah.
Masks. Anytime you're outside, you got to wear masks, and 9 p.m. curfew as well. So yeah,
Wow.
strange times.
You really are in the epicenter there, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people. I mean, yeah, we definitely are in the epicenter, but at the same time, you walk outside and it's almost the same. It's just a little bit quiet, really. I think people are
really?
generally just doing the same type of thing, but
Yeah.
we live in a pretty suburban area, so it's nice. There's no big shops around here, really, so it's everyday life kind of thing. When we go to some of the suburbs around, yeah, you definitely feel it.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you? So you've gone to. You said you were picking up some supplies. In is it in the Sunshine Coast?
Yeah, on the sun near Noosa we are. We're at Yamundi.
Does that mean there's going to be some beaches? It looks like you've got some work that you've already been is already in progress. Is there going to be anything of that sort of surroundings to get in the gallery when you get home?
No, not at all. Because like I've been out there at Lightning Ridge for 40 years now, and I just love the outback. So I spend a lot of my time painting in the west. You know, the deserts. I go out to Simpson, Oodnadatta, just anywhere west of Lightning Ridge is my inspiration, and I felt it as soon as I got out there as a younger fella. You know, I just knew I was sort of home.
Mm.
When I get to Yamundi here, as pretty as it is, it's claustrophobic, if you know what I mean. Like it's just big green trees everywhere. I can't really see the sky. I feel hemmed in.
Yeah.
I got no inspiration whatsoever. I do go for a surf, and sitting out in the ocean, I can feel like I've got space. But living here does nothing for me. I can't paint it. I just don't like it. And I'm painting all outback stuff. So I just come back here. I actually listen to Burke radio while I'm here because it makes me feel like I'm back home, and it keeps me up to date with all the little shitty rural news stuff. But it's good, you know. It feels it's a connection for me. Like I'm likely to be here for the next 3 months now, and
Wow.
I can deal with it by listening to birth radio and sort of painting. I paint daily. I paint every day. I had a lot of big street art things to do in New South Wales, but I can't get to them at the moment.
Wow. So you're looking to be there for 3 months?
Probably up until at least November. I can't see us being allowed back into New South Wales and then getting back out again. You know what I mean? Like she's really tight on the borders.
Was it a case of not getting enough warning to get out of there, or did you just decide to bunker down and do the best you can?
I got out. I knew it was happening. It happened to me last year too. And what I did, I take all my stock to the border, and the girls, we're only 60k from the border, the gallery, and the girls drive to the border, and I just gave them all the stock, and they go back, and I drive 800 kilometres back here again. So that's how I run it. You've got to keep the business going. You know, that's including taking my originals there, the prints. We get canvas prints made here. You know, all that sort of stuff, printers for posters and things like that. So it all happens here on the sunny coast.
Yeah, right. Okay. And then everything travels back to your gallery on Opal Street.
Gallery, yeah. And that's the only outlet I've got, because if people like and appreciate my work, I feel it's better if they've been out into the bush themselves and they get it. You know, like if I take my work into Sydney, say, they just look at that and they just can't fathom, you know, the space, the colours, the whole lot. I've tried it years ago, and I grew up in Sydney. Actually, my background is I studied at the National Art School in Sydney as a 20-year-old, and I was in the Sydney art scene for a few years. At the high end of the Sydney art scene, it was just, as a young fellow, I was 21, 22 by then, and I just really, the pretentiousness of it all, I decided I just had to get out of the place. So, and I was disillusioned, you know, with what and I stopped painting for 4 years, 5 years. I travelled overseas, and I was away for 4 years. I left Australia, but I knew I had to come back. And when I got back, I just, this love of painting got me excited again. You know, I just needed to do it. Like you as a creative yourself know that if you want to paint or play music or anything, it's in you, you know, and you're happiest doing it. And after living away for 4 years, I thought I can live anywhere, so I can live in Australia. So I did up an old van, a Toyota Hiace, and just left the world as we know it. I was just turning 30 by then, and I decided just to go and paint. And I, naively, of course, you know, like I've retired, all this sort of stuff. And so that was 40 years ago, believe it or not. And I haven't done anything since for those 40 years except painted. And I've gotten myself into a comfortable position now. So why I'm saying that is for all the dreamers and the people that want to do it, just go and do it, you know, and it all falls into place. Money's never been the god. It's just been about doing the art. And even now things are a bit grim for us. We're not making any sales. We've got a few girls we've got to support at the gallery. And but I just keep painting through it, you know, and it just all goes away. It's pretty naive.
So has it affected I mean, you just said that you were doing a painting that was sort of related to lockdowns, but has it affected your art in terms of what you are painting and subject matter and things like that?
Not really. It's just something that keeps, because it's so topical at the moment. My work is about observation in the bush, and so I do a lot of landscapes. And if I want to tell a story, I use characters to talk. You know, like I use emus now, and I dress them up, and they can tell stories for me. I don't paint people at all.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I've noticed that there's no people, but somehow you do have some sort of there's a human aspect to a lot of your work, which is really interesting because you don't actually have any people in them.
No, they distract, because if you put a person in a painting, everybody looks at that person and go, who is it? What's he doing there? And they want to know about the person. Whereas if you paint a bird there and put a title like the bird's going, oh, it's a great day or something like that, you start looking at the great day and not worrying about like a bird said it to you. So I've never painted them. I've just left them out. They're too much of a distraction. As I suppose we are in the landscape anyway. If you're out in the bush in the middle of nowhere and you're looking at a beautiful scene and someone runs across the beach, you'll be looking at that person, no one else. And I figure that works with painting too.
Yeah, that's kind of human nature, isn't it? Just to recognize when people are around and have a look. Something you do in your artwork that I really appreciate, and something that I've noticed, is that you turn a lot of nothing into a lot of something. Like you've got this ability to really just bring out the life in nature, and It's it's really unique to your work, I think, to just be able to paint something that might be simple in ways, but just to bring so much life out of it in that same way that there's no people. It's just the landscape that you're seeing. I think it's a unique skill. Is that something that you've worked on over time, or is it something that you use in terms of your method with colors and things like that?
Yeah, but a bit of both. When I said when I left as a young fella and I got out into the outback areas, it was the flat line that, as you said, it looks like there's nothing there. But and I travel a lot on my own when I do go out, so I don't have people to distract me or get in my thoughts. And you sort of what you can be wondering. I go out for a few weeks, and you sort of camp there, and you're looking at scenes, and you really take them in. They're just you and that thing. And if I see an old car in the distance as I'm driving, I'll drive over to that car or walk over it, and and just sort of take photos of it and walk around it. And as you're doing that, you'll see the little birds or the animals or the lizards or something, or an eagle flies over, something crops into your head to they're looking at me. They're saying, "What are you doing here?" You know?
You're the odd one out.
Yeah. So it just it's a whole this nothingness is, and then also in this nothingness, there's crap all over the place where people have thrown their shit around, bits of old wire or fence posts, and you think it's just that's always interested me. Who put that fence post there like 100 years ago, and what the hell were they doing out in the desert trying to farm sheep or whatever they were trying to do?
Yeah, I've noticed that and I've done a little bit of reading, just over the past couple of days about the Garn, the railway that does it run through Lightning Ridge?
No, not at all. That starts at the old Garn. The Garn line now just goes from Adelaide straight up to the Northern Territory. It's still there. In the old days, it used to go up to Maree, which is heading up towards Birdsville, and then from Maree out to Alice Springs, it goes through Oodnadatta. And that's the old Garn line, the one that I paint. And like when I got out there years ago, I was just fascinated because at Maree too, there's a clay mosque there, and I thought, what's this? It's just an old building, but it was a mosque. It was the Cameleers from Afghanistan.
Wow.
That were building the Garn railway line. That's where they used to pray, and all the thousands of camels that are out there are from these guys too.
So the camels there are directly from those people that built the old Garn line, and they've just bred and stayed in the environment.
Yeah, and they, yes, of course, and they were the inland transport too before. They overtook the horses and things like that. I mean, even Burke and Wills tried to take camels to help them out, and it would have succeeded if they had the Cameleers drivers with them, the Afghans. But one of them, in their wisdom, Burke or whatever, sacked all the Afghans and took some white fellas out there, and the camels just lost as he did when he didn't listen to the black fellas getting a feed too.
Yeah, 100%.
They were all healthy.
yeah. Got to listen to the people that know what's going on in the environment.
Yeah, and also the Afghans, they were treated at first. They were the inland transport system, and their camels could move a lot of stuff. And eventually, when the vehicle came about and the train line, they put themselves out of a job. And they were treated just as bad as the Indigenous people back then too. So they sort of mixed together and mingled. And you'll see a lot of in South Australia, a lot of Indigenous, like Dan Sultan. You know of Dan Sultan?
No.
He's an Indigenous singer. Yeah, he's a musician, singer.
Okay.
Pretty young, groovy guy. He's in his 20s or maybe 30 by now.
Mm-hmm.
His heritage is Indigenous Afghan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But back to the Garn line itself, I was driving on and it was just all the sleepers were there in the dirt. And the steel had gone. I thought, where's all the, what were they at first? And the steel had been sold as scrap metal to China, and we're probably driving around it in the car now, or it's our refrigerator, That's where that ended up. But I mean, the history of that Garn line, and in about 2006, I think it was, when I first saw them, I painted a picture of them. I drew a fairly large painting of these sleepers in the desert, and it was just something that was really unusual and man-made there. I went back about 8 years later to the same spot thinking I want to get some more drawings of these sleepers, and they're all gone. And I'm thinking, where the hell did they go? Like they're heavy, you're in the middle of the desert and all these big bits of wood have disappeared. And as I was thinking and out there, so cars were going past with bloody sleepers in the back, 3 at a time, 2 or 3. And this is all the guys that going out to the other side of the Simpson Desert because you can't burn firewood in the Simpson Desert. They're taking a sleep. It's about a 3-day crossing. They've got a sleeper for each fire every night.
Right. Interesting.
So it's all disappearing. And a lot of my work is based on the history of right now. If I paint an old car or an old house or something, I'm painting something that's there right at this time. It was there in 2007 and like recording history to a way.
Mm.
And then if it becomes a bit bland, that's when I put animals and things in it to tell that story.
Yeah. Add a bit of life into the scene.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a narrative and a historical narrative, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
And then you asked about the colours, and that's the next thing, you know, just by being out there for so long, you're watching the sun going down and just the way it changes and the afternoon light on everything, it gives it a real orange glow. And as it's going down, the white clouds are turning pink and grey and yellow, and they're just so, it just fascinated me. And I was copying this on a piece of paper, writing down the colours, because back then I never had a camera, there was no iPhones, I couldn't afford film for a camera anyway. So I was just making my drawings and marks of what clouds look like. And now that's imprinted in my head. I can sort of do a painting and know at some time of day what the clouds should look like and the color of the sky. So, and another thing with my paint, I try and make it edible when I'm mixing it up. Like when I'm mixing a color, I mix it on the palette like a gelati that I'd want to eat. And if you don't want to eat it, the color looks shitty, I don't use it, you know.
Really?
It's going to look muck on your painting as well.
That's a good philosophy.
So that's why they're bright, I think.
Yeah, that's a really good that's a good way to look at it, I think. So do you mix all of your own colors, or do you have a wide range of paints that you use? I know you mainly use acrylics.
Yeah.
And do you mix?
Yeah,
I mean, do you have
do
every
that.
color in the book, or do you mix a lot of your colors together
No,
to get
I mix a lot of my own colors. I've got a stock standard selection, you know, and I've got a lot of ochres. I bought a lot of the ochres and things like that, and the different siennas and umbers and things, because they're pretty stock standard. And that's really what's in the desert. And like my blues, I make up my different shades of blue. There's a thing called phthalo blue. Even if I'm painting a mural outside, I'll buy big drums of white paint, you know, 10 litres of white paint, and buy blue tints and yellow tints and things like that. And it's cheaper to do, and I can mix up my paint and, you know, and it's like aerosol art. I paint when I'm painting outside as well. We'll just branch off for a minute here.
You're right. Yeah, go for it.
And I use acrylic and paint. You're as a painter yourself, so you'd understand paint. It's just such a beautiful thing. There's a couple of reasons for it. I really don't like oil paint when I'm painting with oils on a canvas. It takes too long to dry. There's terps involved. It stinks. It's toxic. You know, and painting out Lightning Ridge, bugs and crap are landing in your stuff, and it's just you know, it's messy. Where acrylic is quick, you put it on, it'll dry quick, and if you don't like what you've done, you can paint straight over it. Whereas if it's an oil painting, you may have to wait 3 days looking at this mistake. And the more you try and fix it, the worse it gets. And it just does my head in. So I like to paint quickly. And that's why I do that. So to the outsides as well, it's the same sort of a thing. I'm really happy with using paint. I just use house paint, you know, Weather Shield. Really good 20-year guarantee. It's going to stay there stuff. And I take a lot of tints out, and I buy stock standard red, yellow, and, you know, nice bright colours that I need. I find this is nice and clean, and it's nice and quick. It's not as quick as aerosol. The things that I have against aerosol, which is no big deal, it's just a personal thing. I mean, I love aerosol art. I've got some great mates that are geniuses with it, you know, but they've grown up, you know, they've grown up in the tracks and all that sort of stuff, just practicing their craft, if you like, on any wall they can find.
Understood.
And they're so good. and I've tried it, you know, and I've got them to teach me a few things, but once again, it's the smell of the stuff that does my head in. That's what my biggest hate is. And then there's an environmental thing with it too. And then there's a cost with it, because each can of this stuff's sort of, you know, you can get them for $5 or $6, a decent can, but it's still pretty pricey to cover a large area.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of your work is quite big as well. So if you were looking to get cans for a whole outdoor wall, it'd be quite expensive, wouldn't it?
You need sponsorship, you would have to do it. And a lot of the guys, like the guys in Melbourne, sort of Adnate or any of them, that they're all well and truly covered with paint costs and things.
Yeah, he's incredible. I saw him painting a big face in Nowra a couple of years ago, and yeah, he's amazing, an amazing artist. You've done a little bit of work on silos, working with Bob Barrett and forget the other
Brian
blokes.
Smith.
Yeah, Brian Smith, and is it Cat? Did you do something with Casper on
Casper.
silo art?
Yeah, yeah. Is it? Sorry, did you say Casper?
Casper, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's a guy in Melbourne. Like I've been going to Melbourne for the last this last 3 years. Well, my wife said to me a couple of years ago, "What do you want to do for Christmas?" And I said, "I've always wanted to go and live in Melbourne for a while and just paint in the lanes. That's something I really want to do." So we packed a dog, everything. We rented a house down there for 3 months. Just moved down there, and I just thought, where do I start? So I went into Hosier in Melbourne, Hosier Lane. There, it's quite. It's a free space. And I just started painting. I just walked in and I had a shopping trolley full of my paints, so I could get on and off the tram with that, and just turned up. Yeah, it was pretty cool. People actually thought I was homeless and they were leaving me alone. You get on the tram in the morning, I got paint on my clothes, and they just give you a wide berth. And the only people talking to me were the nutters or the guys that are having a hard time in life, which have since become friends to me too. But anyway, by painting in the lanes, I met a lot of guys just painting, and they're coming up to me and going, "Man, that's old school, using a brush and all that." And I go, "Well, look at me, I am old school." But we started painting together and doing collaborations, and it was just great. And Casper I've known for 3 years, and he's such a dedicated painter. He'd never been outside of Melbourne, really. I mean, he grew up in Caboolture and went to Melbourne to paint. He was getting in trouble painting around, Brisbane. The laws are a bit tough on anybody painting here.
For sure, yeah, 100%, yeah.
And it's just tough on him. So he went to Melbourne and he's been working down there. So when the chance came up to paint the water tower out at Burke, I thought I'd take him out for a bit of experience to help me, and it was great. He's for one, it was a fairly solid Indigenous community, so that was different to him. He's a skater too. He used to go down the skate park.
Okay, in Burke.
Yeah, in Burke, and he's on TikTok, and he had all the little girls and all the little boys after him. He was having the best time.
Yeah,
they all ride scooters out there, and they all want to use his skateboard. But he said it's a pretty good skate park out at Burke, apparently.
Yeah, I've heard good things. I think Tony Hawk went out there a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Well, Casper reckons it's one of the best parks he's seen, and he couldn't believe it was out there, and the kids are just using scooters on it, and they're not really getting the best of it.
So how was it painting a silo that big? Was it difficult?
Yeah, it's great. It's the best thing. I'd done one in Canamble a couple of years ago. And at the time, I had no idea. I just liked painting big. And I went to the shop on the way through. It was a coffee shop, petrol station thing. And I went in there, and the lady that was there said, she knew I painted. She said, "Do you want to paint our water tower?" And I went, "Yeah, sure." Like, no idea. Yeah, sure. And the Canamble was a little town that's in, 600K from Sydney sort of thing. So it's not much happening out there.
No.
And I said yes, and I'd do it. And I drove up to it, and I just stood there, and I looked up, and I went, "Oh my God, what have I done?" Like, it was massive. But I thought, no, I'm going to do this. And I said, "Look, I don't know how to get up there." And they hired a boom lift for me, and a driver, which was good because there was no way I could work out how to even do this. And I wasn't prepared for it. So I did some drawings. They were happy with that. And I did that in about 2 weeks with a driver. But when I was come to painting my solid pieces in one spot, like I did big galahs on this one, this guy was just standing around. He just moved the thing a little bit and stand there and wait. He's getting paid for a couple of hours. So he was a good dude. I ended up giving him some paintbrushes, and I'd draw things up, and he'd start underpainting for me. So he had a great time, But that's when I thought I've got to do more of this because it's such a buzz, being up that high.
Yeah, I can
And
imagine.
when you get back, the work is so impressive from a distance. So I went to, when I got back to here, I got in Brisbane, I went to Brisbane and got a boom lift license, high risk boom lift ticket, which was, it was a 3-day course. It was fairly intense, more bookwork than anything else and more rules. The driving part was fun. So I got that, and then the Burke one come up, and I've done another smaller jobs, but it's just good to have a boom license. I don't know if you've got one, but
Yeah, I've got one for
really
work.
handy
Yeah.
to get.
Yeah, they are handy, and those
Yeah.
machines are
Oh,
pretty
you would
simple.
do, of course, yeah.
They're simple to drive, but they're really handy for getting up high.
Yeah.
Did you struggle with the scale at all?
Not really. That's where it was actually good for the Burke one with Lucas there, because he knew what I was doing, and when we were trying to work, see, I do everything on a square grid form. You understand how that works?
Yeah, I
You
haven't
get
done it
your image,
myself,
you get,
but I get the concept. Yeah.
yeah, okay. So a square that big, you can make that 2 meters, So when you know where your squares are going to be, you get up and just do your first 2 meter square, and everything in that little square that you're looking at, you just work in that one square, and then the next square and the next square and the next square. So I painted the guy on the water tower in about 3 days, and he was fairly big. He was probably, I think he was in a 16 meter square.
Wow.
So, and just little pieces at a time, but it's quite easy. It's really easy, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Once two things to worry about: your fear of heights, which you probably haven't got.
Yeah, it's gone.
You're a painter anyway.
Yeah, no, that's out the window.
And you're gridding the thing up. What's that?
The fear of, I'm saying the
yeah.
fear of heights. Yeah, I'm totally used to it now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you'd be sweet, and then you should have a go at them. They're coming up all the time. These
Really?
Expressions of interest to paint them.
All
the little towns in Western and New South Wales are wanting their silos or water towers painted for tourism, because the grey nomads are flocking around, and they can't get enough people to paint them. And if they do, there's probably not a lot of people doing it. I don't know why. I think I know most of the people that are painting towers, or know of them. There's a couple of guys in Queensland, Zookeeper in Drapple. They've got the market covered up here. They're doing them everywhere,
I've heard of Drapple, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're the local Brisbane boys.
What about Sooty Welsh? Is he an artist that helps you out as well? Or is he?
No, Sooty was a guy. Every time I do a tower or a large mural, I always find that the indigenous artists in town.
Yep.
And Sooty was the local Coonamble artist. So when I paint, I get them to, and I did it in Burke too. I get the story, or because there's a community out west, and it's probably where I live, 70 to 80 to 90% Indigenous. Now, the people that organise the water towers are all white fellas. So they all want sheep and cattle and all this sort of stuff on their towers. Whereas my approach is, I'll do the tower if I can work with the local Indigenous artist. And I get him to do his stuff in like a dream time, just in X-ray art, sort of around the tower. So he'll tell the story of the totems, the river, and all their markings that they use traditionally. You may notice if you look at the picture in at Coonamble, there's some pinky sort of line work around it.
Yeah,
that's his. And the idea of that is it's community. Then it's everyone. So all the little kids, all his cousins and uncles, and everybody was coming up thinking, "Oh, this is great." No one touches your tower then because they're involved. Or your wall. It's just always get the kids involved, and always try and incorporate the Indigenous artists with you.
That's a beautiful philosophy.
Burke, yeah, well, I did the same at Burke, and I got Brian Smith out there, and I've had this philosophy going I did a sign out at Burke, a large sign, probably 25, 30 years ago, and it was the Welcome to Burke sign. And it was a massive, big 20-metre sign that they put up there. And I got Brian. I said, I want to work with an Indigenous artist. I didn't know how I was going to work with him. Anyway, he's 16 then. He's just a young fella, but he could paint and draw, and he was really good. And I said, all right, we're going to paint this. And I want you to do all your spirits coming out of the land, or all your sort of markings for your story. I don't know it because I'm a white fella. You do your story down. So that's how I work with them. And I let them go. But Brian, being a young fellow, I says, right, what? And I'm trying to make the spirits blend in. I said, what color are we going to do the spirits, Brian? And he goes, oh, black. I said, oh, man, you can't.
Making it hard for you.
Spirits. Think of ghosts, you know?
Yeah.
Think of dream time. They're there, but they're not there. So we got down that we painted them in silver. So that was something that stuck in my head. And anyway, when the Burke Water Tower came up, and I did that with Bobby back in 25 years ago too, Bobby Barrett.
Okay.
So when the tower job came up, the water tower at Burke, I said, all right, I'll come and do it. But I wanted to bring out Bobby, who's getting pretty old, and I want Brian there. And by this stage, Brian's 40 years old. He's the local, he's a great big guy. He's a champion footballer. No one gives him any shit. And he's also running a school, an art school for all the kids that are just wandering the streets. He's got like a drop-in centre where they all paint, like a gallery. So getting him involved, and the story he told, he went out to some caves 40 kilometres away, and he told the story that the elders painted in those caves. He replicated a lot of that around the tower. So the kids are not going to go out to the caves to see it, but they can tell the story on the tower now.
Wow.
And then to make that a little bit more, I got all the school kids. There was the high school, the primary school, the disabled school, the disadvantaged schools, I suppose you call them. Schools from 40 and 20 kilometres around, all to come in and all to put one handprint on the tower.
Nice.
In the gravel. So there's over a whole day, we've got about, and the community, the coppers, the ambulance, the SES, the teachers, everybody come and put their hands around the bottom of this tower.
Beautiful.
In ochres, so it's a traditional signature for everyone. And it was just amazing. Everybody loved it, and they became involved in it. Yeah, it was just a good thing to do. So if I do any public art like that, I try and incorporate more of that sort of a thing into it now. It just works. It works for me, And then also you get these people that you get to meet everyone, and you're not isolated. And like after a week there, everybody knows who you are, and you go into the shops, and we just our process is get up in the morning early at dawn, have breakfast, go to work, have lunch, work till dark, come home, go to sleep, get up and do it again. And we did that tower in about 16 days straight.
Wow. So what are you using exactly? Are you using larger brushes, or because it's a bigger scale, or are you just using regular materials?
Just regular materials. I use the spray gun to spray the tower, the colour blend. So I had Bobby's one, but it broke down, but I had a spare with me. I've got a newer one, so we were able to carry on. And they've got a little handheld airless now, a Graco. I don't know.
I've got one of them.
Those.
Yeah. I've got the the Ultra. They're really good, really handy.
Yeah, that's. I just did a job at Gadooga with a whole wall with one of them things just to see how it'd go, and
yeah,
they're really handy, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%.
That, and then the rest is just brushwork, and I just use cheap Bunnings rat tail brushes. As a painter, you'd probably know them.
Yep, I know the rat tails.
Each. They got that. Yeah, I just use them. They're really good. You can get them in different sizes, and when you've got all your finer lines, you can just wet them. And I use them in Melbourne too on the walls, and you can paint forever with one straight line of paint. Long skinny lines for outline marks and things like that.
Is that what you use in studio as well?
Yeah, I've started to now, because I was buying these bloody good brushes that were really expensive, and they're clogging up and getting shitty, and you're wasting your money really. So I started using these. They're bloody awesome. The fine detail I still use. I used to use Sable and all those sort of brushes, but once again, they're too expensive. And if you go to places like Officeworks, even Bunnings sell long nap skinny brushes now, which I just use synthetic, rayon and nylon or anything like that. But they've got plenty of bend and they hold plenty of paint for me.
And what about your acrylic paints besides the Weather Shield? Is there a specific brand that you use in the little tubes, or is it all mixed out of
Yeah, I
like
use
Weather Shield?
no, Weather Shield is just exterior work, and on canvas I use Matisse Vinyl Derivan paint, and I've been using them ever since I first went to Lightning Ridge. I got an account with them bloody nearly 40 years ago, and they'll send stuff to me, and I got to meet the paint chemist, and I was having trouble with paints out there, but he could talk to me about different colours and things. Plus, I was selling some of my work, and it was going up to places like Cairns and that, and they were whinging about fungus growing in it, from the mold and mildew coming on the back of the canvas.
Mm.
So I talked to him about that, and he's made up an anti-mold solution. So all my canvases now, I stretch them myself, or I get a guy to do it for me now, and I just put an anti-mold in them, and that never happens. So I paint with a water-based acrylic paint, and then when it's finished, I use once again vinyl Derivan or Matisse terp-based lacquer to spray it, and I've got a little spray gun in the studio, and just spray a surface over it to protect it more than anything. You can hit it with a hose, or they get fly spots on them. You can get a scrubbing brush and scrub it, and the painting won't come off.
Really interesting.
No, but if you want to repaint it, you can get terps and wash the lacquer off. It will come off with terps and not hurt the painting underneath.
Yeah, right. Okay. So when you just on the stretching of the canvas, when you paint canvas that you're going to plan to stretch yourself, does it affect the painting at all in terms of the proportions, or does it stay the same when you stretch it over the timber frame?
I stretch it before.
You stretch it before?
Yeah. So I make a wooden,
right.
And this comes right back to my art school days. In art school, we used to always make our own canvases then and stretch them, at the time. So I learnt to stretch, and they're fairly solid canvases. And I also use unprimed cotton duck, 10 ounce. So it's got no priming in it whatsoever. And this is the tip for painters. People say your paintings are nice and bright. If you're painting on it, and it's just so it's raw canvas, then I put a gesso, like a clear impasto on it, to seal it. First of all, water-based glue, PVA glue, and then PVC glue. One of them woodworking glues, mixed with water. Let that dry, and that shrinks the canvas tight. Then put this gesso on it. Not gesso, it's impasto medium, which is like, it dries clear like glass, and you can see through it, so you can see your raw canvas underneath. So the theory behind that is, if you've got white paint on a wall or on a canvas, when you put your colour on it, the white absorbs your colour, it drags your colour into it.
Mm.
Whereas if you paint onto glass, you know how it bounces back, the light gets behind it and bounces it back, so it's brighter. And that's one of the things I've always done. And the bigger canvas I'm doing here, I've got two skies beside each other. One of them's on my raw canvas that I brought over from Lightning Ridge, and one's on a bought one here, which they've primed. And it's just so annoying. The colours are not doing what I want to do with them. They're going real blur, the white's knocking the sting out of them.
So you get that process done to them before you receive the raw canvas, or do you do it yourself?
I do it myself. You just buy a roll of canvas, cotton duck, 50 meters of it.
Yep.
And then when you stretch it, you treat it then.
I've been looking at getting some canvases myself, and they're not cheap to just buy a ready-made canvas ready to paint. I mean, they're like $50 a pop for 24 inch by 24 inch. It's really starting to look expensive. So I'm starting to think of ways that I can lower the costs, because, I'm just mucking around at the moment with my painting. So yeah, I need to make it sort of cheap to make it viable. So that's good information.
For sure. What you can do too is just go down to the hardware and get some 2B1. I forget the metric measurement, but 2B1, it's a standard about that wide by about that high. Turn them on their side and just don't even miter them. Just drive some nails in each end.
Yep.
And cut a brace across it. Then have your and on your piece of wood that you 2B1, get a plane or something and just chamfer a 45-degree edge on one side, so that your canvas instead of having an edge like that, it's got a shaved edge, so that when your canvas sits on it, it doesn't make that mark. It's sort of, it bounces.
Folds over the side sort of thing.
On the inside, you have the cut edge.
Ah, okay, right, yeah.
I'll when we finish here, I'll draw a little drawing of making it up yourself if you like. And just,
Yeah, that'd be good.
Because that's pretty cheap.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm always looking for ways to save money, because by no means am I going to make any money from hanging out in the back shed and doing paintings at the moment. But I am actually pretty interested in your early days. I know, you're an accomplished artist, and you've got an amazing gallery out there in Opal Street in Lightning Ridge. But where did you find painting? Was it something that you grew up in the household? Was it a creative thing that was passed down to you? Where did you first come across art?
Yeah, I when I went to in primary school, it was all about sport. I like playing footy and stuff like that, and any sort of sport. When I got to high school, and I'd always mucked around drawing. I'd always liked doing it, but it was never a big deal. And when I got to high school, I had to pick some subjects, and I went to art. I did art because something I thought I could like. And I had a really good art teacher there that was sort of just encouraged us all the time. So that really helped, And I wasn't never the brightest student or anything like that at school. So back then you used to have first level art, which was 75% history, 25% art, and then second level 50% of each. Third level 75% actual art, 25% history. So I was always a third level student. I just liked drawing. I always hated art history.
Yeah, it can be tiresome.
Oh man, back then, who cares about Byzantine art?
Yeah,
What is
totally.
that?
Yeah, you just want to put some color on the canvas or page.
Yeah. So that was it. So anyway, I did that, and I played football, and I was going pretty good at football, and I wanted to make a career out of it. I was playing 3 games a week, and I was playing rep football. This is 15, 16. Junior rep football, and then I got to 18. I took a pretty bad head knock and was in hospital with amnesia for days, which was pretty sad. Then I was sort of warned about this could keep happening, and I played on, and it was happening. I was getting blackouts and everything playing footy. So I thought, God, what am I going to do? And anyway, I went to art school. I just thought, bugger, I'm going to go to art school. I can that's my next love in life. So I did. I just signed up and did 4 years at National Art School in Sydney with no idea of what I was going to do with it. I could not even qualify to teach, but it was. And at nights I used to work because there was no scholarships back then. I'd work in the mornings cleaning as a cleaner, and at nights work in the pubs and bars and things like that. But to do my 8 hours every day at the art gallery, because I lived in Redfern at the time. And East Sydney was the National Art School, the cell block up there, and I was living in Redfern, so it was cheap enough for me to just off Cleveland Street there.
Yeah, right.
It was cheap enough for me to sort of live there with a few guys. Yeah, and back then, 40 years ago, it was or more. So I'm getting on a bit. It was a lot really different. The Precious Brewery was there, and yes. Totally different. It was no yuppie fight. It was just all battlers and cheap rents, and it was good, So that was the early things. And but as I started to say earlier, with the art school, I did really well in that. And in my final year, they just let me paint what I wanted to. And I was with Bonython Galleries and Macquarie Galleries, 2 major Sydney galleries back then. And my final year was just do 2 exhibitions, which I did, in a Sydney thing, up and coming young artists. I was exhibiting with Tim Storia and John Olsen. There was quite a few of them in there. They're all quite famous now. I finished art school and said, I'm going to do this. This is great. And I went to Newtown and rented a studio in King Street, a space, an old factory. It was a sewing factory, a manufacturing thing. Back then, once again, it was pretty shitty. It wasn't trendy. And I did the same, carried on working every day in the studio. And I was getting into it, but one of the directors of the gallery kept coming around to see what I was doing and put so much doubt in my head about oh, I'm not sure about this, but if you do this and do this, and we've got artists like you in our stable. And so she said, just try and think of other things. So she left. And for the next few months, I'm painting stuff for her. You know, I'm thinking, what does she want? What does she want? So, and I'm gotten really confused then, knowing what I wanted to do. And then what I ended up doing was just totally different. She came back again and just started that same whole trip on me. And I just said, and this is probably a bit hot-headed because I was only young. I just said, if you're so good, you do the paintings. And that was it. And I just packed it all up and I went to Western Australia. I just absolutely had a gut full of that scene, and which led me to go overseas. And while I was overseas, though, I mean, I ended up working in Austria printing T-shirts and doing a lot of sign writing for places. So I always, and I was in India for over a year, and I had a sketchbook, and I was just traveling around India drawing, and I knew I wanted to stay with art somehow. And anyway, I got back to Sydney, and I got a job. I never busted ass broke by then, 4 years away, and I got a job at the airport as a baggage handler at Mascot Airport. I'd met the hire fire guy over in Austria, unbelievably, and I heard he was there, and I said, "Can I get a job?" Simple, you know. So that was a really good job. But this art thing was happening again to me, and there was a massive lunchroom where all the porters and everybody used to use it. And because it was like 24-hour work, it was shift work. There's always people in there, couches, beds, kitchens, ovens. And I started drawing caricatures of one of the porters on the walls, full length in a Textacolor. And I started doing them. I say, you do my planes for the day and I'll do a picture of you. And I draw a little sketch in the morning and spend a day drawing on the wall. And I did this for about 6 months, completely covered the whole wall. And I just thought, no, I'm going to go and do it. And I did. And I said to an old fellow about to retire, he'd been there all his life. I said, what would you do? I want to go and do art. This is such a crazy job. All the young fellas are giving me heaps. And he said, mate, just go and do it. Just go and follow your dreams. And I did. I did up the old Hi-Ace van, and mum and dad and all my family thought I was completely nuts. And I jumped in the van and I just took off, and that was it. And I just started painting from then on and never looked back.
That's beautiful. That is that's such a fulfilling story to hear. I love hearing a story of someone that just decides to do what they want to do and just follow their heart. That's amazing.
And that's sort of hope for people too, you know, like it is tough. And it was like a 20-year apprenticeship out there, because I got to Lightning Ridge, which was awesome because it was a community that was just miners that used to, you go and peg a claim, 50 metre square, pay $12.50 a year for this 50 metre square bit of land, and you could build whatever you want on it. And they were all dreamers out there. No one had a second name. They were all, there was a population of about 4,000 and 1,200 in town at the time on the official roll. And it was just all these people living on these claims, and there was parties going on. There was always a party. There was always heaps of drinking, no drink driving laws. You could pretty much get anything you want on these camps. And so every night was just sort of paint, drive around, you find a party or go to the pub, someone says a party here, and you go back to someone's camp. And these camps are just, you've got no power, no electricity, no water, and you live on them as you can. So I end up with solar. I did a painting and the guy dug me a big hole for a dam, swapped him a couple of paintings, and it was a big barter system going on.
Wow.
And it was just the savior of me, you know. But it was hard because there was no dole, no unemployment benefits. So you had to make money.
From the town itself.
From the town. So I started doing printing T-shirts, doing sign writing. And then my biggest thing I think that helped me was because I'd gone to art school and I had no idea of how art worked and galleries and things like that, I decided to do an art show just to get people to come on board. Now, because you're living in an outback town, people go, art, what's that? You know, arty-farty and all this carry on. They want to know, but they just don't know the rules. So I found a musician there who's, because there was a lot of creative people there, just all dropped out, I suppose you'd call it, or living a freer life. I'll say that. It's not dropped out, for a freer life. And this guy was so good with an organ and composing music. and a complete rat bag as well. What I did, I hired the bowling club, the whole upstairs auditorium, and covered the place in black cloth, and made props. Like one of my exhibitions was called Lunar Tickle, and I made a great big moon and put it in the middle of the room. And then because I'd worked in galleries and they took 50% of your money, I thought I'm going to spend 50% of my projected income on getting good sound system up from Sydney, good lighting, and make some props and really put on a good show. So I had 20 something paintings. I worked out if I sold them all for X amount of money, $500-600, I could make whatever. I had a figure to work on. So I spent half that figure. Like I was dreaming here, thinking I'm going to sell all my paintings. But I also made it theatrical so that people could learn to understand it. And I knew they loved to drink, they loved to party and a drink. So I got everybody to dress in a costume. Like Lunar Tickle was come eccentric Lunar Tickle. So you can dress whatever you want, like the effects of the full moon. And I had these guys with bow ties and swimmers on, all sorts of shit. And I had my girls, I called them the Palettes, and I had these 3 young girls. And it was beautiful. One was a completely full Aboriginal girl. One was half sort of mixture skin. So I had a dark skin, light skin, a white skin girl, and I body painted them all and had them in pretty skimpy clothes. And they were the Palettes. And they were walking around giving drinks, like free drinks. And that was attracting all the people to the drinks and the girls. It was working for me. And they got really pissed. And I had them all outside. And then when they come in, I opened the doors, I had the music going really sort of spooky, and I had all the lights out so that they walked into a dark room, and the music was like, I had lightning going and storms and strobe lights in there. So it was pitch black, but you could see stuff on the walls. And then as we had the music going, then the lights slowly come on, and they all started buying the stuff, because they were all given a thing. So I'd sell out in about 10, 15 minutes. It was because I had 200 people turn up. I had 20 paintings for sale. And so I did one of them every year for about 7 years. I even went up to Darwin and hired the Darwin Performing Arts Centre up there and did the same thing en masse on a stage. And that really, while I didn't make a lot of money, it sort of gave me a great lot of exposure in the outback of buying paintings and doing something a bit different.
Interesting.
It was just trying to make, when I said I'm going to go and live in my car, I made the solemn promise I was never going to get another job. I was just going to make a living out of art. And I made that to myself, no one else. And I have, I dreamed of being an artist. And I wanted to be an artist. I really wanted to be an artist so bad. And still now, I still want to be an artist, it's, and I still paint every day, but that's when the street art come into it. I felt so in love with watching street artists. I'm thinking, wow, these guys are so creative. And this is all art for art's sake. There's nothing pretentious. They're not going to make any money out of it. They're just in the streets doing these wild paintings. And that's what's got me on my new path now. I just I just paint with guys,
So how long have you been experimenting with stuff, in the streets, so to speak?
Oh, the last 3 years we've been going down there. It's a bit shitty now with COVID.
Yeah.
We've actually rented a place down there, a commercial premise in Fitzroy, that I can go down. My wife's down there. She's stuck in lockdown down there at the moment.
So she's in Fitzroy at the moment?
Yeah, she's down there. Been there for 6 weeks.
Oh, my God.
She had medical things for her mum down there and it just got caught. But we've got this place for a couple of years. And we know quite a few artists there. And you walk out my back door and it's just lanes, So I just walk out and start painting when I'm there. And I collaborate and work with other guys, and I'm trying now I'm doing street art festivals. I'm trying to get more involved in them. Just going out with a bunch of people and hanging out and painting stuff, it's just a bit, and I'm not doing it for money. I'm doing it for I'll paint for nothing. And it's the excitement of painting with this enthusiastic bunch of people. And some of it's, as you know, it's not probably kosher where you paint, but you just want to go and paint, and you find old abandoned places and sort of it's a bit of sneaking around, and that's exciting.
That is very exciting.
It's given me a whole new lease on life again.
Right. Yeah, that's really interesting to know. Graffiti and street art in general is it's part of the art it's a lot of it, but the adventure as well is a massive part of it.
Oh
And
yeah,
and the missions and and getting around and doing something where maybe you shouldn't be doing something, or
yeah,
even where you are allowed to do something in a lane. It's such a cool medium, and it's I'm totally in agreement with you there. It's an amazing art form.
and the people that live in the lanes too. I've got people now that live in certain lanes I paint in that I can just leave my stuff with them and go out and have lunch and go to a toilet or something and come back and my stuff's there. They're all guarding it and they're looking at it. You just give them respect and talk to them. That's all they want. A lot of people that just living pretty rough um, to be treated the same. And there's a whole element this, and I actually work with people in Hosier that are at the youth projects there. They're pretty damaged in certain ways, and one of the instructors there or the art teachers there asked me would I paint with some of the guys and girls, and so I go and spend a day with them, just sort of use my paints, or that they supply me some paints, and just get them painting on a wall. And what it does to them is just amazing. You get through the battles of, oh, I can't do this, I don't feel like this, and all that business. But once you actually get them going, they have the best time and they're so proud. And they walk around for bloody days going, that's mine, I did that, I'm a sweetheart.
Yeah, totally.
It's just good.
It's
good
kind of
humanity.
the reason that it's that same sort of feeling as to why you got into painting that you see emerge in other people, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just that love of paint and seeing something go up on a wall and it's colorful and
yep. It's so good. In fact, if COVID never happened last year, I because of the street art, my mother and father are from Glasgow, and I've never been there. I don't know any relatives over there.
Okay.
So Glasgow, I've actually contacted a few people and a few street art photographers in London, and then they follow me on Instagram now. I had walls in London to paint, and I had these big aqueduct walls in Glasgow, right where my mum and dad grew up, to paint last year, all booked in. I had a whole wall there. Come up and do it. I was thinking if I started painting here, and I was going to paint a big kangaroo and a big emu with tartan on them, and Mel Gibson, that blue face they wear, the Gaelic, that one there. I was going to paint
Braveheart style.
Braveheart, yeah, paint it up like that, and it was going to just cause who the hell are you? And I was going to say, I am such and such. Do you know anybody that lives around here? Try and find some relatives, But I just wanted to do that and work in my birth town. And that was all lined up. And we're going to go to Paris. My wife, she does stencil art. So she's got, that's something she can be doing down there in Lockup now. She just does stencils, and if she can't get out, she does paste ups, But it's the same thing. We sneak around a lot together. And just do shit. It's just fun. She's got her own little crew now, a girl crew that they sort of work with, and they do exhibitions, and it's pretty good what she's got going on.
So did you meet her in Lightning Ridge?
Yeah, I did. I've been with her now over 30 years. She turned up, this young girl, and I knew her straight away. She'd been in India too, had all jewelry all over her face, and wow, who's this? Anyway, she ended up being my life model for 3 months. I was drawing with another girl there, so we were paying her to come and model for us. And I'm thinking, no way in the world am I going to get involved with this girl. And over time, we just got what we were doing linked up together. So she was a photographer. So we've just been traveling anywhere doing photography or painting, and that's all we do now still. She was able to live in the camp with me for years, put up with all that crap. It's pretty hard living that lifestyle, but it was, we never really had any money for a long time, but like me, it was art for me and it was art for her as well. And we're both still the same. We cannot believe that I've got a studio here now and I've got a gallery in Lightning Ridge, and how it even happened. There was no business plan. It was just work every day. Don't worry about money. It all turns up eventually. So when I said a little bit earlier, there's a 20-year apprenticeship. just be prepared to just do your art and not worry about the big prize or the big picture. It'll turn up, you know.
Yeah. I guess that sort of sentiment is hard to fill out in the major cities. Would you agree that maybe some of the coastal towns just have too much pressure for people that are looking to become artists
Yep.
to spend the time to really hone their craft and not have to worry about, the added stresses of living in a city?
Totally. When I was living in Sydney back again, when I was working at the airport, I did rent a house and had a studio there, and I was trying to paint. And I worked out it was costing me at the time $350 a week for the privilege of living in that house, money I needed for rent, getting to work, just the costs of being there. And I thought, geez, if I can't make that, and this is how I arrived to living in a car, I only need about $100 a week or $200 a week to live on. I can do that living in a car somehow, So I had to cut all my overheads out to do it. So that is the stresses that makes it real hard, because when you're working all day long, the last thing you can do is be creative when you get home. You've had it, you want to chill out, you want to have a few drinks or do whatever you do. Just watch TV or watch video or.
Yeah, the pressure is definitely building in the coastal towns, but looking at your artwork, it sounds like you made the right choice all those years ago.
It was just the only free place I could find. And back to why I like the Outback, I just got there and I knew I was home. When I got there, and I still, if I go out to any of the deserts now, yeah, you just sort of breathe, it's just sort of, wow, this is just it. And there's no people, and it's so free. It's just not funny, no phones, there's no coverage. It's just,
Really?
yeah, no, it's just bloody awesome.
Yeah, right. Interesting.
Really good.
So Lightning Ridge, is that what you think attracts people to it? I had a look last night. There's only about 3,000 people there. Is that right?
Officially 1,800, probably still closer to 5,000.
Right.
There's on the electoral. Yeah, they all still live in these camps on the fields.
Right.
You'll have to get out there one day.
Still to this day.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, most of the population lives on the opal fields.
Wow.
Yep. The council's been trying to get rid of them for years, and the Western Lands there's a whole movement to get rid of them, but then there's a whole movement. They're not going to kick them out. These people have been there for a long time, and this was the rules. You can't just be changing the rules now, So, and they're pretty free people,
Yeah.
Which I love.
Is there much of an art scene there? Are you the driving force behind art in that town, or is there a lot of people that are sort of doing similar things to you?
Yeah, not on the scale that I do it on. There's an arts and craft group there, and they paint. Some of the younger kids now, I'm encouraging a lot of younger kids. I've painted just about every wall in town, and every time I paint, I grab kids with me, and I get them to paint. So I've got I've got a girl now. She's been painting with me since she was about 10, I think. She was really talented. She's now 16 and taken on her own jobs,
Wow.
Painting. Yeah, she's good.
Yeah.
The boys are all a little bit, they're just growing into themselves,
Yeah.
Bloody their balls are dropping, whatever.
Yeah. All the troubles of being a young teen and things like that.
Too cool for school. They just don't want to get into it.
Yeah.
The girls seem to flow into that a bit easier.
Yeah. They'll come around.
They're starting to now, the older ones.
Yeah.
They're gone into that from that little funny stage, and they're getting a bit better now.
Yeah, totally. And what about the gallery itself on Opal Street? Is it, I assume that you have exhibitions and things like that there, but is the online aspect sort of what keeps it going, or is it tourists that travel through the town that keep it sort of above ground? Or
yeah, it's mainly tourism now because of the grey. They're coming to Lightning Ridge because it's such an iconic, I hate the word, but it's an iconic sort of a mining town. Black opal comes from there. That's the main thing. So they're coming for opal. I've actually painted so much stuff around the place and districts all around me. And a lot of it I did for nothing. So this is another tip for kids, when I first got there, I said, can I paint your wall? You buy me the paint and I'll paint something on your wall. And I never got paid, I just painted stuff. And that then people say, who did that? And then when they see that, they go, oh, can you paint this for me? And Yeah, and that's how it sort of flows on. The more you give, the more you get. If you can keep that one in store. But these days, I've had the gallery in town, and I fell into that by default. There was at the pub, there was a reception, and it was because it's out of town. The pub, the guy said, if we'll give you the space if you set a gallery up just to attract more people down this end of town, and it won't charge any rent. So I went, oh yeah, all right. So I was worried about it because I had to staff it, and I thought, how am I going to do this? And I thought paintings are not going to cover it because people are not going to buy them. So I borrowed $10,000 from the bank and bought a V nailer and a guillotine, enough stuff to make frames and a glass cutter, and bought 6 cards on prints and 2 limited edition poster prints, and started with them. And then people could afford to buy them. Everybody that walks in's got $5, but they haven't got $500. And that's how my thing went. I had a lot of flack from my high-end artistic friends calling me a sellout for prostituting myself doing prints and stuff. And I'm going, man, you're still working in a coffee shop. I paint every day.
Yeah, fucking oath.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, totally.
And then that print market, I woke up to that, and this was like 30 years ago too. Over 25. I've started buying more prints, and now that's probably 90% of our market. And the gallery, we've got a couple of girls working there, just casuals, and they run the place for us. We don't even have to be there. They get paid, they order in the prints, and all I do is supply it with paintings. Vicky's got a gallery space in it, and she she supplies it with photos, and she's painting skateboards and all sorts of things now. So that's working really well, and the online presence is just starting to go off. It's really good. But we've had a website for the whole time we were in a gallery, over 25 years. So if you Google John Murray, I pretty much come up number one. Just and there's million John Murrays in the world.
Yeah, there is a lot of John Murrays. There's a musician, I think, from England or something. But no, you were straight up when I had a look and did a bit of research for the show, for sure.
It's absolutely amazing, and that's just from being longevity, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And so it's just staying the course. That's about all you got to do, Jack.
Yeah. So let's talk about your recent book.
Book.
Well, when was it released?
I've done a couple of picture books, but the one I've just done now.
Yep.
This one here.
That's it. Get a Real Job. I love it.
Get a Real Job. And that is 300 pages.
Yeah.
But that's just a real short story, mainly picture book, of pretty much all we've been talking about. When I got to the camp, when I was working out, they were the drawings I was doing in India and stuff like that. And I managed to, I don't know how I saved it all. These are all from a sketchbook. These are the drawings I used to do in the wall at the airport. Just for yours, you can see these, but no one else probably can.
Oh,
that?
That's awesome.
That was a little guy that used to do overtime. Look, these sort of things here.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
this
cool.
guy had some hidden tendencies, which he never talked about.
Love it, love it.
But that sort of, it's got all my exhibitions in there, and I did that, and it's called Get a Real Job, because I had so many kids coming up to me and going, how did you get such a big gallery? Who bought this for you? Who did this for you? How did you get a good car? And I said, just painting, mate. And they can't believe me, So the book was just really to give people a bit of hope, or a bit of a follow someone that's done it as an example. And it's mainly a picture book. It's written in really simple terms, because when I started writing it, my wife said, you can't write that. Your English is crap. Your writing style's crap. You need someone to write it for you. And I went, oh, but it's not going to be the same. So I said, oh, look, just let me do it. And I spent a year or so just writing notes. And I scanned all these pictures, and I said, here, have a read of that. And she read, and I'm waiting for her to give me, this is shit. And she comes back and says, actually, that's pretty good. We just got to change, your grammar's crap. We can fix that up. And if you put your full stops and all that where they should be. And I just start writing,
Yeah, for sure.
And so it's written straight out of my mouth, So there's no words that I can't understand in it. There's no words that are too big for any young fella to look at. It's really simple English with lots and lots of pictures as examples.
Yeah, no, that's the way to go, I think. I mean, if it's your book, it's got to come from you for sure.
Yeah,
How did you get it published? Did you do it all yourself?
Yeah, we self-published. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, was that difficult at all?
Vicky's pretty good on a computer now, and because of her photography, she's always had Photoshop and things like that. So she's oh man, she's been playing around with computer for over 20 years now, just in and out of Photoshop and stuff like that. And different publisher, and you can buy programs too. So you can get online programs, and you just sort of drop and drag your pictures into it in your space. And then when we got it all together, we thought it was good, and we gave it to a person an editor, I suppose you call them, and they read it and said, "This is crap," and sent it back. I mean, what do you mean? It was just because it was all too jammed in. There was no spaces, no breathing space, as she called it. So we had to edit it, and I took out half the pictures that I had in it, and had more white space around each thing, and let each little technical things like that.
Let it breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've done a few other books as well. I saw you've got a book sort of focused around cars and things like that.
Yeah, Holden book. We did one together. It's called what was that one? It was Holden On.
Holden On.
It was all about the death of Holden. So all the pictures, I've been drawing and painting old Holdens for years, all out in the bush. And Vicky had been photographing these old cars, and it's when we started, I said, Holden's going to fold in 2017. We've got to get a record of this stuff, you know. And it was all the Holdens that I grew up with that had steel bumper bars still, you know, nothing plastic after that. They're all made in Australia. They're all solid old cars that everybody could buy one and buy another old one for $50 and change the motor over, you know, that sort of crap, EHs and stuff. So when we come over to the coast, everybody's done the bloody old Holdens up. They're all beautiful old EHs and things flying around here. And I was just going over to them and putting stickers on their window. Can we come and photograph your car? And they would love it because they've done them up, you know. And Vicky then started photographing them and getting their story of why they love a Holden. So the book's interspersed with people that have got Holdens that still drive them, still their love for them. Their first Holden ever bought. So it's got little stories like that. And then masses of pictures of, I've got a heap of picture paintings that I've done them out in the bush. So that's probably 100-page book of Holdens.
Yeah, no, it looks really good.
And that's another good way for young people to, the printed thing is pretty popular. You know, we do a calendar too now every year. I just put my prints on a calendar. You can do that yourself. And these are ways you can try and think of to make money. And prints are so cheap these days. You can sell them online too. So there's a lot more tools you can use. And Procreate, I've started mucking around with that. Young kids now have got so many tools they can use.
That's an amazing program, that one.
Yeah, it is. It's just unbelievable. I'm still old school though. I like doing it my way.
100%.
I understand my process, and I can still teach people that process.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and there's something about just picking up a brush and, you know, as you said, doing it old school, that's just really touches the essence of what it is to be an artist.
And you'd know about brush too, Jack. It's just And well, you paint with aerosol much, or
yeah. So you know, I've been painting with spray cans since I was in my early teens in Brisbane.
You know then, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Doing spending an hour in a toilet cubicle at the skate park, breathing in all the fumes and everything like that. But yeah, I mean, I grew up on graffiti. I absolutely love it. And lately, I haven't been doing heaps of it just because, you know, it's harder to get out and about and everything like that. But I've been working with just acrylics out in the backyard there as well. So, but I do play around with aerosols. I think they are really fun. But as you said, they are expensive. I've started to notice since I've been sort of watching my wallet and watching the budget. You know, back in the day, I'd spend a whole paycheck on spray cans. But these days I'm thinking, oh shit, I got to get 10 cans. That might be $60-$70 or something like that. So
yeah. and you can really just burn it so quick. It's gone,
Oh, yeah. We used to mix. You mix spray cans. You get the old Dynemark road paint they used to spray
Yep.
the roads with, and you can chuck that in. Once your cans are empty, you chuck one in the freezer and you put one in hot water and you make a little cap out of a biro pen. Have you ever done that?
No.
Yeah, so it's just a pressure thing. So one's in the freezer, one you put in hot water, not too hot, and you make a little cap that connects, and then you basically can spray one into the other. So you can actually put paint back into them, and you mix your own colors and things like that. It's really
Wow.
fun. Yeah, a lot of the dudes used to do it a fair bit, and you'd see colors up in the canals and on the trains. And you think, how do they get that color? That's nice, like sort of olive greens and just strange colors that wouldn't really be very common.
Yeah.
But yeah, we used to play around with that all the time, and textures and inks and things like that.
Yeah.
Anything that makes a mark, it's just, to me, it's really interesting and fun. I love it.
It's really funny that all the guys that I'm sort of hanging with painting, like the street guys,
Yeah.
they've all grown up like you, and they're all trying to get into what I'm doing,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to get into what they're doing.
Yeah. That's right.
And I'm so impressed. I have seen some little tricky caps and things that they're all playing with, So 'cause they don't have a lot of money either, a lot of these guys, and they come up with some pretty cool things.
Now you can actually buy them. They sell them at the paint store in Newtown.
Yeah.
Yeah, ready made to mix your own
Yeah.
colors. It's
You
good
you
fun.
should, we were talking about Casper. You should check out his stuff that he's doing now.
Yeah, I had a look on his website last night. Yeah, he's awesome.
He's just started doing these birds now that like Devate, those birds that he does everywhere. Jimmy Devate.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he started putting them into his patterns that he used to. Oh, he only ever did patterns. And when we worked, I'd put emus or magpies in, and he put his patterns around them. I've got a few in Melbourne that we've done together. One of them's still there, from years ago.
Yep.
And so I had him up at Lightning Ridge, and I got him to do a magpie on top, and I got him to do it with aerosol. And then he went to Wodonga, and he had a 6-month contract down there with the council doing street art for him. So he did 10 murals in the 6 months, just on an hourly wage, working for a council. And he did a skate park and all that sort of stuff, underpasses and things. And he started doing these birds, and they're bloody awesome. He's really just gone to a new level now. It's he'll do so well.
Yeah, he's got he like you were just saying before, in terms of like selling prints and smaller things that people can afford. He's got, I'm pretty sure he's got little things that you can buy on his website that sort of keep
and stickers and
and keep the wheels turning a little bit.
Yeah. He paints skateboards too. He's been doing them for a while.
Yeah, really vibrant as well.
Yeah. He's a bloody good skater too.
Is he?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah,
that's all he does: skates and paints.
Yeah, there's a massive intersection between those two cultures. I grew up skateboarding as well, and a lot of the skaters, became artists and vice versa. There's a huge cross section there.
Yeah. I just find it. I just wish I wasn't running out of years. There's so much to do.
That's when you know. That's when you know you're enjoying your life, mate. When you want more years.
I do. Sure. I want more years, and I don't care how big walls are now, and I just want more of that. It's so my life now is about staying as fit as I possibly can. I've given up so much the bad stuff that I used to put in my body, grog and all that, just so I can stay in the game.
Yeah. And, is that a hard thing to do in Lightning Ridge?
Oh yeah, I've been off 20 years now. I've been pretty much straight 180.
Okay. Yeah.
I back then, I think in the first bloody 20 years I was there, I probably had more than I needed to drink, and everybody used to have bloody trees growing out there, like plants. Everybody, and it was just that was the life, and it was a drunken stoner, that was just painting every day. It was pretty good.
Yeah, 100%.
It was just nothing better.
Yeah,
but I
totally.
lost touch of reality a little bit within that world too. And I thought when I got back, when I straightened up, I wouldn't be able to have the ideas to paint again. And I really worried about that. And anyway, I did it, and I had to do it for medical reasons, for the the grog side of things. My pancreas played up, and I was warned to stop, or I'd end up in a bad way. I'd be dead, actually. And that was enough motivation to stop. And, but then that was the best thing that ever happened to me, because the creativity and with a clear head and a purpose, it's just the best thing, you know. You're not fearful of anything. You'll do anything. You can do it at any time because you're never out of it to, you know, not be able to paint or drive your car somewhere or do anything. You can always do something.
Yeah.
And,
But there was a fear that the creativity might somehow be affected from, because I have those thoughts as well, you know, and I have in the past.
yeah,
You know, that sort of intertwined relationship between mind state and creativity and how they're connected. And
yep.
was there a bit of a transitionary period where you sort of getting off the grog and or things like that, and what your paintings might turn out to be?
Yeah, there was. I just stopped drinking like that, and I was still sort of smoking a bit of dope then, and I was painting. But what I found then, like some days I'd get up, and I think I had the best painting in the world, and I'd get up in the morning and just look at it and go, "Wow, man, what the hell is that all about?" And have to
Yeah.
paint over it, you know.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
figured I was starting to waste paint and time, and some of these ideas were just too far left of center, you know. They were just gone.
Yeah.
Um, and I started doing more, just getting fitter, doing more exercise. Uh, and I keep myself fairly fit now. I surf again, you know, and I walk a lot. So it gives your brain's really fresh again. You guys, I won't say you guys, when I was younger, it was okay. Your brain was fresh. But as you sort of get older, it all gets a bit stale and foggy, and you end up living in a cloud. And my contemporaries now that are still carrying on, man, they're just so thick and so dumb. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just what's happened to them, and they don't know it. You know, their life is getting smaller and smaller, and it's all based around grog and the club and the food and the grog and the club, and you know, a bunch of mates, and they're getting fatter, and they're not doing anything, and they're bored, and they're getting angry, and I'm going, oh man. Whereas I'm trying to stay in the game, and people like yourself, that's inspiring. I'm now being inspired by the younger generation, and that enthusiasm. It's reigniting me again.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's really
Um,
beautiful.
I'm just happy to be in that space to be able to do it. You know.
Yeah, mate, you're well and truly in there. You're well and truly in there.
Oh, thanks, Jack. I'm trying, mate.
Yeah. So what's coming up for you? I mean, obviously you're sort of stuck in the Sunshine Coast at the moment, but at least you've got your studio to sort of work on things, and you're apart from your wife Vicky. But looking beyond that, what's sort of on the cards? Is it just more painting, just more of the same? You're just going to keep cracking
Yeah.
on?
Oh no, I've got a plan. I'm just waiting for, and I think Australia by November is going to be opened up, so they can't keep doing this shit.
No, they
In all the
can't.
states, everybody's going to be vaccinated. I'm vaccinated, right? I'm ready to go. I got my passport, vaccinated thing. I'm going. So as soon as things are open, I'm just into it. And we've got that place in Melbourne, so I'll be down there for January, February, March, just painting there. And I've got different projects that I'm trying to line up in Melbourne. And as soon as overseas again, I'm still keeping in touch with them people. I'm gonna spend, you know, what I can now is traveling overseas, because as you know, street art just transcends the universe in a way, or worldwide. And I've got so many different followers on Instagram now that I can talk to in Spain or bloody South America or wherever we were able to go to, and just rock up and find a wall and just start painting. And as you know, once you start painting, it just happens. And that's like any painting. Even when you're doing a painting in the studio, you don't have inspiration, start painting. And as you're painting, that inspiration grows, and you think, that's a good idea. And you might grab another painting and go from there, another canvas.
A lot of the time, I mean, by no means am I a, you know, accomplished painter, but when I'm working on something, it kind of reveals itself to you, and you start to think, oh, I know what I was trying to do there, without even really thinking about it. It comes towards you a little bit when you start working on it.
Yeah, it does. And that's 100%. That's what happens there. And that's the process. If you sit around, like a lot of people say, I've got painter's block or writer's block, that's bullshit. That's laziness. Just go into your studio. some days I'd do that, and I'd be in the studio, and I'd be looking out at the car, and I go, oh man, gee, the car needs a wash. And think, who wants to go and wash their car? But you're trying to get out of the studio to go and do something else to avoid what you should be doing. So I can sit there some whole days and just do nothing and get so pissed off with myself. The next day I just go, right, stuff this and go in and start working, you know. And but you've got to sort of do that to yourself.
Do you ever get burnt out in an artistic sense?
No, I don't think so. I think it's invigorating. And now with the beauty of painting in the streets, I just go and do that. You know, that's something that's because you do get burnt out. That's I think why I started doing the bigger walls and murals. For painting, as long as I have in a studio, it's so insular. You're just there on your own with your music and whatever, and you and you. It becomes, your work gets a bit stale too, and you start repeating things, and just you lose a bit of your spark. Whereas by going out, the way I work now is I probably do a 3-month period, which I'm doing now, of canvas work. And then I know my next 3 months after that, it's just going to be in the streets. I've got a lot of projects in New South Wales that I've got to finish. They're working with kids in schools and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I take on a lot of them jobs, but they're mainly in Indigenous areas where they're getting nothing anyway. So you just go and I just charge them for paint more, and they put me up somewhere, and I just do that. And that's the sort of stuff that's fun, you know. It's what street art and graffiti is all about is art for art's sake, and for no other reason. That's what I go and do.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, beautiful. So, I mean, on that topic, what kind of advice would you give? And I know you did mention this before, but what kind of advice would you give to young artists that are really feeling that sort of pinch, and, you know, whether I should do this or whether I should not?
Oh, just follow your deep down gut, you know, whatever's really, your parents are going to give you different grief. I actually had to, when I said I lived in Redfern, I had to move out of home because I didn't go and get a good job. My dad and mum wanted me to be in some sort of a government job because they were migrants from Scotland. So I understand now what they wanted me to do. And when I said I was going to art school, he just said, out, go. You're not living in this house if you're going to do that. And I just thought, well, I'm 18, you know, yeah, 18. I said, fuck you. That was it.
Yeah, I'm out.
I'm going.
Yeah.
So I went, and it was okay. You know, it was the best thing I ever did. Now looking back after that, what my parents did for me. In fact, my dad never gave me any credos or bloody any praise until he was 82. And then he said, you know, I'm proud of you. And I nearly died. I nearly fell over when he said that. I couldn't believe it because I wasn't doing it for him. But he was a hard man. He'd had a hard life himself in Glasgow. His dad was probably worse than him, you know. Mm-hmm. And now I thank him because it taught me independence. Like, it was nearly, if you want to do that shit, you go and do it. I'm not helping you. And I did. And I learned to, so I'd learned to work and support myself from an early age. So going to art wasn't a big stretch. You knew you were going to have no money. And you knew you could do it, so you just did it. Same with when I went overseas. I had $1,200 when I left to go overseas. That's all I had. I didn't even have a return ticket, and made that last 4 years.
Yeah, right. So it sounds like you've got. You mentioned before that you're a daily practitioner. I mean, you paint daily. Do you think work ethic is something important for artists, sort of trying to break into the craft, like doing it every day as opposed to just doing it when you feel like, even though if you do feel like doing it every day, is that an important part of your life, just sort of the dedication and the discipline?
Totally. And that's why Casper, that's why I got on so well with him. He reminds me of me when I was younger. He lives it. He just works it every day, and that's what he wants to do. Like, and that's all I wanted to do when I was his age. I was about the same age. And that's all I want to do. And he's got the same drive, probably more than me, actually. He's going to be great. Something good's going to happen to him because he's now making videos and films. And like, I was trying to do stuff like that back in my day, but he's just, he's really driven, this guy. I think he'll go well. Just watch the space with him. That's a tip. An up and coming, just a young guy, and he's got nothing either. He's got nothing. He's doing this on his own. No one's supporting him, and he's making a living out of his art. He's hustling money and hustling jobs, and not charging much for them. But he needs the job. You know, he's got to pay his rent, so he'll just take jobs that people won't because, oh, hang on, there's not enough money in that. And he'll go, oh man, I've got to eat. I'm going to do this.
All power to him. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'll put his website in the show notes for today, so people can check him out too. Lucas Casper is his name, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Lucas Casper. That's his website. He just goes by Casper, but I think he's changing it to Lucas so they can unify everything.
Yeah, righto.
They can't find him in a lot of platforms.
Yeah, is he from Melbourne?
He grew up in Caboolture.
Right, you said that, of course.
Yeah. And he had a really tough time there being an artist. He used to get mugged for his shoes and everything. Just living in that part of town.
That's out in the sticks a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty bogan back then. I think it may still be a little bit. It's just socio disadvantaged, you know, economically disadvantaged, and a lot of the people that are there haven't had a good education, and they just don't. It's really just problem. It's in a lot of Australia, really.
Yeah, totally.
And he got busted with cops and stuff like that, and pretty hard times. Just painting in drains of all things, just getting away from trying to paint somewhere, you know.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it?
Yeah, and it really put him off. And but he went and found his way. So that you asked me about advice to young people. It's just follow what if you like an art can be music, dance, you know, what singing, rapping, whatever you want to do, just follow it because it will lead you down the path of something worthwhile. If you abandon it, you'll always want to do that. I feel there'll be something missing in your life because you've then gone and got the job that's going to supply the money and everything for you, the security. But you'll find in your 40-year career, if you live that long, you know, that's another thing. It's how long you live. It'll all catch up. I've caught up to all my mates that had the job. Now they retired and they've got nothing to do. They've got no life. They just don't know what to do with themselves. They've got plenty of money and they're the ones that are getting sick. They're drinking too much. They're, you know, getting fat. They're getting lazy. They're not fulfilling their promise.
Totally. Well, I mean, it's better to fail at something. I mean, even if you do fail, you know, success, fail, or whatever it is, but it's better to fail at something that you enjoy doing than succeed at something that really isn't fulfilling, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think you'll ever fail too, because you have
True.
gone that way, and that may lead you to another path that's associated.
Totally true. Yeah,
you will find something down that rabbit hole that's gonna work for you by doing it. You know, maybe you're not a painter, maybe you're you know, a bloody graphic designer or something else. You know, maybe you might run into some bloody guys rapping and going, oh wow, I can do this, and follow down music. But it's that creative groove that you got to sort of stick with.
Yeah, totally. Speaking of music, you were playing some music when I first got on the call with you. What kind of music do you listen to music while you paint?
Yeah, I like all music. That's just something that they're a sort of a spiritual group. I play them in my gallery. I noticed they were busking up here at Yamundi at the railway station 25 years ago. And they just play this ethereal music. It's just flutes. She plays an organ and she just sort of sings notes, and they're sort of a mystical sort of music, but it takes you places. We play it in the gallery all the time because the words don't mean anything, but they do. There might be a lot of or, you know, just sort of flowing words. She's a beautiful voice, angelic voice, and he plays a flute in with it and a little bit of guitar, and I got a guy just in like Indian drums just tapping away there. And
yeah,
that everybody that comes in the gallery without fail goes, wow, what's this music? And I've been playing the one CD for 20 years, the same
20
CD,
years.
20 years. They've got more, but this one works, you know.
Yeah.
And it's still current, because when I even go out in the outback, I play this music because it lends itself to that nothingness in the open. And I feel like I'm as free as whatever they're playing, this music that you can't understand, but it's uplifting. So that's a good thing. Yeah, the girls don't get sick of it. No one gets sick of it. I'm still not sick of it. It's just amazing. They're called Sacred Earth.
Sacred Earth.
Yeah, listen to them.
Yeah, I will. Beautiful. I'll check them
But
out online.
otherwise, I like any hip hop, anything sort of current. I anybody. Like what am I listening to? I just a lot of Indigenous artists now. I'm following a lot of their stuff. Briggs is really good. He comes up with some radical stuff. I
Yeah,
just like
for
his
sure.
message as well.
Yep,
Um,
100%.
I listen to Triple R in the afternoons, Melbourne radio, because they just play all sorts of alternate music and Australian bands that you don't really hear of. And Melbourne's got a good music scene.
It does.
Uh,
Definitely does. Yeah, it's got a good everything scene, Melbourne. It's such a creative place.
Yeah. But then I just said to you earlier, I'm listening to Burke Radio at the moment too. I listen to that in the morning.
Yeah, bit of
Outback Morning
contrast.
for 3 hours.
Yeah, yeah.
And that, like, that just keeps me current to the Outback. Because right now I know how many cases of coronavirus are in Gaduga, how many's in Lightning Ridge, what's going on out there, because that's my pulse. That's my land, my
Yeah,
home.
totally.
I'm
Yeah.
going to die out, be buried out there. I know that. And I know the people out there, and I feel it's my family.
How
So
many cases are in Lightning Ridge?
there's still only
If any?
none.
None.
But
Yeah.
they've associated 2 with there, but they're from Gaduga, and they came into the town. Gaduga's 70 kilometres away, and it's an 100% Indigenous town.
Wow.
They came. They haven't got a shop either, so they came in and bought some smokes and went back out again. So that's where in the supermarket's under threat a little bit. Walgett's still got only 3. Canamble's got 1.
Yeah.
Burke's got 6, and they're all in the Indigenous population, and half of them are kids.
Wow.
Which is really bad. And because once again, our great leader is supposed to have vaccinated all the Indigenous people first up, and 10% is vaccinated.
Really?
Yep.
Is that just a lack of access?
It's a lack of commitment from him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Them.
Totally. Yeah.
He's late to the party on everything. We should have had everybody should have been vaccinated by now.
I know there was a couple of weeks. I just got my first shot of Pfizer the other day, so I can return to work.
Yeah.
Because I've been off for probably 5 weeks now.
Oh yeah. Wow.
But yeah, there was a few weeks there where I was ready to go. I was ready to get vaccinated, and I just couldn't get an appointment or anything like that. So it was very stressful, even in Sydney. So I can't imagine what it was like out there.
Yeah, well, they weren't too worried, the Indigenous population. I know Brewarrina, because they all rely on Facebook. The communication's poor, and the misinformation on Facebook and with the anti-vaxxers and stuff is so radical with changing your DNA, and it's just bullshit. But they all believed it all, and so the lady from the Brewarrina AMA, Aboriginal Medical Association there, she said, we've got 1,000 Pfizers sitting in the fridge. We've got a population of 600. 20 people have vaccinated because they're all sitting at home. This was before it got out there. This was about a month ago. Because they're all frightened of what they've heard on Facebook. But now the elders have got in there, and there's big push. So in a way, we will all be vaccinated out west pretty soon. Out of Burke, there's big pushes everywhere. And you would have a handle on what's going on at Burke anyway.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
The old girl sort of keeps me in tune with all that.
Oh, mate, she's the voice. I hear her voice all the time. How does that woman stay so upbeat all her life?
Yeah, it's definitely it's a talent of hers, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I think it must be the 10K run she does every day.
Yeah. She stays fit. Just, same sort of thing you were saying before. It keeps your mind sharp.
Yeah, she's great. And no matter who she's interviewing, she is just like, she's interviewed me a few times when I was doing the tower. She's always smiling at you and making you bloody be happy,
Yeah, she's the
and
best.
give you a good interview. She's just awesome.
So, John, I won't keep you much longer. You've been really generous with your time. But just quickly, what do you think is going to happen to those? Well, not what's going to happen. That's probably not the best way to put it. But what do you see with all these towns that you know, Lightning Ridge and all these towns that you're visiting? Where do you see them heading over, you know, the next decade or so, or 5, 10 years? Are they in a state where they can continue to operate in terms of the industry that's there and everything? What's the vibe in this with all the people?
Rural will always wheat and sheep and that. There'll always be a rural community, but their shops are dying because they're just worried about rural and they don't want tourists in a lot of the little towns. And they go, oh, there's bloody tourists, and all this. They're bringing disease in. There's that bunch, and they hate. No, I'm not going to get into the politics, but they're not real big on. But let's just say they're a bit redneck. That's the easiest way to put that. Now, there's so many chances for tourism, and it's happening out of Bourke now, which is really good. Indigenous tourism. They're really, and that's people from the cities and wider Australia really want to know about this stuff. And it's a little bit of a bottleneck for some of our communities out there with their leaders, their councils. As far as tourism's going, it's great. And one of the big drivers of tourism is, which I'm really pushing hard out there, is street art. You know, painting towns. And it's got a twofold effect. I went out to Brewarrina to paint out there, and I was out there for 2 weeks. And Brewarrina had a bad rap from years ago because it's fairly high Indigenous. It was and it looked shit. It looked crap. There's shutters on all the windows and it's all dirty brown and maroon and heritage green colours that are all faded and kids have texted over, you know. And we went out there and I painted all with another artist, Jenny McCracken, a really good artist, street muralist, 3D painter. And we spent 2 weeks doing the levee banks, the toilet block, and that made a bit. And I work with the kids on the toilet block. We're doing the school kids doing this Indigenous thing around there. And when I was painting the levee banks, I was down near one of the villages down there, one of the mission places, and it always had a bad name called Dodge City, you know, because they were always burning down houses and stuff. Back 20 years ago, and I thought, oh, what are these people going to think? What are they going to? We're going to get hassled for painting here. And without a doubt, everyone that walked past says, oh man, this is so cool. Thanks for making our place look good. No one's bothered to paint their places, you know, and do shit like that. And that really sort of, I thought, wow. So that's the sort of thing that can go on. If you involve some of their artists with it, that then is a keeper. You know, you've got Indigenous art. And the shop across the road is the best shop in the world for a cafe. When you go in, you think, wow, this is good. It's all rustic, good food, vegetarian, vegan, it's amazing. And gardens out the back. But the front was so crappy. I said, you've got a really good place, but your shop looks like shit. She said, oh, what do you mean? I said, everybody comes in. I said, tourists are not going to go in there. You think you're going to get mugged if you go in there, or you're going to get a bait. I wouldn't go in if I didn't know you. And she said, well, and I said, look, I tell you what, if you sheet the corrugated fences, it was a big area, you put some sheeting over the front of that, and that's just not gyprock, what do you call it? Villaboard. Villaboard. Yep. Screw it straight to the tin. I'll come and paint it for you for $2,000 or something. Not much, you know. They'll cover my costs and put me up in a cabin. And so I spent a week out there and just painted it all. And it looks sensational now. And she said, our business is just booming. I'm going, oh,
wow.
Paint, mate. This is all it is. And there's a little bit more creeping in now. Bourke's, they want Casper to go out to Bourke now, because that's another reason I took him out there. I want more street artists out our way, aerosol artists, young dudes. I got him to do a painting in Lightning Ridge. I said, just do this one here. This motel sign looks shit. Don't charge her much, you know, she won't do it otherwise. So he did it, and I said, what'd you charge? And he said, I haven't said anything. She left an envelope for $500 for him, and he didn't even expect it. She was coming up saying, oh, is that enough? I feel so bad, but that's all I can afford. And he's going, oh, wow. I said, so you got $500. You've got the best spot in town that everybody's going to see. All the kids were going past going, that's cool, man. And, you know, and he's on TikTok, and they're all wanting to play with these aerosols, and you know, by having his presence there and not mine. So I'm trying to get more artists out to Lightning Ridge. This I want to happen too. and all the surrounding areas. At Canamble now, they've got all the bins in the main street. Any travelling artist can go through, can paint a bin, you know. I don't know what the money situation is, but I'm not worried about that. I'm saying, you want to get up in a little town like this, put your name there, and people are going to say, who did that? And you'll get a job on a wall. And so that's something I'm trying to do within a 400 or 500 kilometre radius of Lightning Ridge.
Beautiful.
Because that's going to help Lightning Ridge. And it's going to help Burke, and Burke's getting a bit more too, you know?
Yeah, it's sort of a two-way street. I mean, the artist gets to paint, the town gets to sort of benefit from that, looking better and all that type of thing. That's a really good idea.
And the artist will get more work out of it, especially rural art, and it'll encourage the rural artists out there, because they see a young kid come out, you know, a young kid, 20, 25, sort of a man really, but they see a young man coming out there doing this wild, really good stuff. They go, oh, I can do that. I don't just have to paint sheep. Look at this, you know, and it's a fresh approach. That's my big thing in life, is to get more artists out there into the bush. But so if this goes to any Sydney people, or, you know, people you're talking to, yourself, come out and paint something. You know?
I'd love to. I
Come
would
up to
absolutely
Lightning
love
Ridge
to.
and paint.
My mum has been trying to get me out. Trisha Duffield, that is my mum, who works out at Burke, or, you know, remotely as well at the moment. But she's been trying to get me out to Burke for years. So, and I actually I regret the fact that I haven't been yet. But
go and paint. Brian Smith, the guy I painted the tower with, he got Lucas or Casper to paint in there, and he just went. He took paints with him, and he's in their gallery out the back. He's just gone out there and painted this bird and some thing on a wall, and they love it. And then one of the boys said, "Oh, can you come and paint this wall? You know, there's so many walls in Burke that need paint."
Yeah, all right, okay.
Yeah, mate. Yeah,
Noted.
yeah. And you'll probably get paid. You will get paid. Get your mum onto it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll talk to her about it when I see her again.
Yeah, you definitely should.
I think get Jack out of here.
Yeah, 100%. Well, listen, John, I really appreciate your time today. I really enjoyed our chat. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I want to thank you for coming on the show and for having a chat with me. I know, you know, times are a little bit up in the air at the moment, but I can't thank you enough for having a talk with me today.
No, Jack, honestly, mate, I love it. And it's a pleasure. And I don't care about time. I'm just in the studios painting time, you know. This is, once again, this is the inspiration that I need. So talking to someone with your enthusiasm and you doing podcasts and stuff, I'm getting as much out of it as you are, you know.
Oh, totally. That's really good to know.
It's all a two-way street here.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm really I mean, I'm not surprised, but just to hear you talk about art and you know, your own enthusiasm and the way that you sort of try and to reinvent yourself, it's yeah, it's such a refreshing sort of conversation to have, because you know, it excites me as well. So yeah, that's really good, man.
Yeah. Well, get out to Burke and paint something.
Yeah, I will. And I'll tell you what,
Lightning Ridge.
I'll come to Lightning Ridge, mate, and you'll be the first person I call when I get there.
When our gallery burnt down, this is just a side thing. It burnt down 3 years ago, and I had to rebuild it again.
Really?
Yeah, it was a bloody disaster, and I thought that's the end of the world. But within an hour, I had a drawing of what I wanted to rebuild, and then I couldn't wait. So I built a big gallery, but I also allocated a street art lane in there. So it's 25 metres long, 4 metres high. And I've got all the kids that want to come and paint to go and paint on the walls, just like Blender Lane or Hosier Lane. They can just do their own shit. So any artist, there's one wall I don't let them do that to. That's for people like yourself that come up, guest artists.
Yep.
I've got a few of them, some nice pieces on walls now from good artists. Olas came up and did something. And,
okay.
Yeah, look up Olas. He does a bit of work. And Cade, a guy from Grafton, Cade Javella, I think he does some different stuff. He ended up, I just left him with some paint and come back, and he painted all the footpath and everything, you know. And then some kids come in and said, "Can I have some paint pens?" And they started writing their names. I said, "No writing names. Paint if you're going to paint. Don't write your names all over the place."
Yeah, totally.
And there's all stencil art. We let them do stencils. The school brings them up and lets them spray stencils all over the wall.
Yeah. Oh, that must be really nice for them. That's, you know, a lot of time the kids can just get so bogged down with bullshit. It's just good to just be free. So it's really nice that you're providing that kind of environment.
Yeah, well, and that's from street art. That's what it does, and I'm just trying to get that happening in Lightning Ridge, and that's why you and your fellow artists, street artists, painters, are all welcome to come up there, and I'll get a wall for you. You can paint somewhere.
That's fantastic. I really appreciate that, John.
Oh no,
Um, I'll just give you a bit of a plug here. So if anyone listening wants to check out John's work, it's www.johnmurrayart.com.au. Also, check him out on Instagram at Mort Murray. And John, you've got a Redbubble. I was having a look at where you can get a few bits and pieces as well. Is that correct?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's another aid for people. Red, do you know about Redbubble there?
Not until I found you on there. No.
Well, what you do there, and this is good for any artist too, you upload your images, you get your own site and name on Redbubble, upload your images, and anything you want, and they then take over it, and you set the price you want. You find out how much they're going to charge you. They'll make caps, t-shirts, shirts, posters, canvas prints, anything with that image on it, and that displays for you when you put your image there. You can see all the formats you can get it in, and you can click, oh, I don't want it on Stubby Coolers. You get that taken off, and you get whatever you want it to appear on. That's on your site. Then they'll said you can have this for just say $30. This is what it's going to cost to be printed and sent to the person that ordered it. Now you put your price on top of that, whatever you want for it. So if it's $30, I always like to go a bit more. Like you've got to make 100%.
Yeah.
So I'll make it $70.
Over 60. Yeah, righto. Yeah.
That covers your GST and all that sort of stuff too.
Yep.
So then these things pop in all the time, and you're getting your $40, and you don't do any more.
Yeah, right. Interesting.
The thing is printed and sent to the person, and it's really good. It's an Australian company. A lot of it's now outsourced overseas. Like some stuff will come from Germany, and but the quality is pretty good. You'll always find little things that aren't quite right, but 100%, and that's costing you as the artist nothing to do that. And you have your own site there, advertise Redbubble. If someone sees one of your paintings on a canvas, says, "Oh, I love that. Can I get a copy?" You go, "Yeah, go to Redbubble, upload the image to Redbubble, and they can get it any way they want."
Yeah, right. Oh, that's really good to know. I was eyeing off. We need a new shower curtain at home because ours is all getting all moldy and shit. And I was eyeing off the shower curtain with the cow. I think it's coming out of sort of a shed window.
Oh, they do them too. Oh, see, I don't even know what they do.
Yeah, no, and I was thinking, fuck, that looks awesome. But I decided to go with the book. I thought, I'll get the book. So I put it all through for the book, and I'm eagerly waiting its arrival.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, gee, I should have, if I was there, I could have bloody signed it for you.
I'm sure we'll cross paths, my friend.
We will, mate. Yeah. When you come up, I'll look after you.
Yeah, 100%.
When I see you in person. But it's great talking to you, Jack, and good luck with everything, mate. And well done doing this podcast. You're really you're doing stuff.
Yeah, I had a bit of downtime because obviously I couldn't work for a while with the restrictions, and to be honest, it's been amazing for me just to get back. I was just in the rat wheel of just city life, and it's been really nice to just get back to what I'm passionate about, which is art and painting.
Yeah.
And that sort of led me here to talk with you. So I can't thank you enough. And I'm really happy that I had this time off to sort of explore the things that I was interested in and that I have been interested in that have sort of been playing in the back of my head, like you said. Those nagging voices, you should do this, and you got to listen to yeah. So.
And you're halfway there. You can paint. You've got a license. You've got a boom license. You're really good with house paint. Mate, you're there.
Yeah, exactly. I better just stop painting houses and start painting silos.
Yeah. Paint walls. They all want them. And even when you're in Sydney there, you'll see, just go and ask them, can you paint a wall, and maybe you don't want to do that because you need to cover your costs in Sydney.
Yeah, well, I mean, in terms of work, yeah, but in my spare time, I'd be, I've often thought about just, walking up. I've got some friends that do that in Newtown. They just walk up and say, can we paint your wall? Just give us a little letter to give it to cops when they rock up. And, we'll clean up and everything. And a lot of people are pretty keen for it, especially in Newtown, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the way to do it, because you're up, people see it all the time. Best advertisement in the world.
100%.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
I've got stuff in Melbourne that's still there 3 years later. I can't believe it.
Really?
No one's capped it, it's just,
Yeah.
and now I'm probably getting a little bit of respect around the place too, where they're leaving it.
I think you might be.
Sometimes though, I did one piece there and I was so happy with it. Someone capped it that night. You just could not believe it.
Yeah, it happens. There's a
Oh,
place in Newtown that a lot of people paint, and sometimes 3-4 times a day it gets painted over. So you
Yeah.
better make sure you get photos.
yeah, that's it. And that's my whole philosophy with the street art too. I just go, righto, you go in, enjoy painting, enjoy the process, get a photo,
Yeah.
and that's it. Say goodbye. Because
Give it up. It's
give it
yours
up,
now.
not yours. Belongs to the universe, and that's why I'm surprised stuff's still there 3 years later.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I'll let you go. Again, I really appreciate your time, and I can't wait to meet you in person.
You too, Jack. It's been a pleasure talking to you, mate.
All
Good on
right,
you.
all the best. Happy
Good
painting.
man. Good luck with everything. Good luck with everything. Good luck with everything. Good luck with everything.
Who the fuck you think you are? Huh? 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 Huh?
You talking to me? You talking to me? Oh yeah? Huh? Okay.